Hey Chapel High School students, welcome to the CHS Online experience. My name is Joe and we are going to start a new series today called More to the Story. And first of all, before we get started, want to let you know that, because of the weather we've been having, we had to cancel last Sunday. Well, not really canceling it, we're just postponing it. So we're postponing it to the end of February. So we are still having our blackout night. It's going to be February 28th from 6:30 to 8:30. We're going to be doing some awesome stuff. We're going to have live worship, live teaching, a performance by Intellect, who's a local hip hop artist. He's incredible. Food, of course, and then we're going to play Ultimate Hide and Seek with a $50 Amazon gift card for the winner. And so for this, you're going to want to wear black or dark colors so that you have an advantage when we're playing Ultimate Hide and Seek. So looking forward to you being there for that. Well, like I said, we are getting into a new series called More to the Story, and I just want to open us up by praying. God, there are so many things in life that we think we know, and a lot of times there's more to the story. And God, we think we know, at least for me, at times, how you feel and what you think and what you have to say about certain things in our lives. But God, I think that sometimes we don't really get into your word to really understand your heart about things. So God, I pray that you would help us to know that there's more to the story in these areas of our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so now I don't know if you remember movie trailers or even going to the movies, because like one of the things I always like about going to the movies is getting, popcorn and soda, which costs like $100, and then getting in there and watching the movie trailers, right? Some of them are great, some of them are boring, but here's what I know for a fact, is that there's more to the story than what the trailer tells you. It wouldn't make sense for the trailer editors to give away the whole story in just that 2-minute chunk. But also, I've had this experience as well, where the trailer is absolutely amazing and you think that the movie is just going to be awesome. And then you watch the movie and you're like, man, it was okay, right? They literally showed the best parts of the movie in the trailer. And with the trailer, that's not the whole movie. There's more to the story. And so for the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about things in our lives that are similar to movie trailers. We're talking about the parts of lives that we have ideas about, parts of life you see in culture everywhere, that there's more to the story in these parts of our lives, kind of like in the previews, in both really like good ways and bad ways. So, with that being said, we're going to start this series by talking about sex. And I know you might be tempted right now to just shut this video off, all right? But I just want to encourage you just to hang on for just a second, okay? Because I think that me talking about sex from a church perspective or from a Bible perspective, just that can seem weird, right? Until you think about the fact, like, it's talked about almost everywhere else. Singers talk about it, singers sing about it, rappers rap about it, Netflix shows do not avoid this topic. It's everywhere on TikTok. Magazines at grocery stores, it's right there on the covers. Movies use it as a selling point. It's taught about in school. It's joked about with you and your friends. And some of you wish your families, your parents would stop trying to have that conversation with you, right? So, I don't want you to shut this video off. All right, but I do want you to pause it right here, because this is a time in these videos where if you're with a small group, you're going to take a few minutes to discuss a question or some questions. If you're with your family or some friends, just have the conversation with them. And if you're watching this by yourself, maybe just answer these questions in your head. So here is the questions that I want you to answer. Go ahead and hit pause right now. I hope you had some great discussion or some really great thoughts there. Now, some of you might be thinking that you already know what I'm going to say, right? Even if you haven't been around church much, you've probably been around church people who, you've probably been around them enough to know that God has a lot to say, cares a lot about this topic of sex. In fact, you might think this. You might think that God hates sex, right? Or God's mad about sex. That's the story. Or God only cares about virginity. And if that's true, if that's what you think, then that gives you some more questions. Questions like this. Is it bad that I'm thinking about it? Or is it bad if I want to do it? Can I do everything but actual sex? Or you might think this, I know people who have had sex, none of them died. Is it really that big of a deal? Or I've had sex, so does that mean I'm doomed forever? Or what if it wasn't my choice and someone else made the choice for me? What does God think about that? What am I supposed to do now? Or you might be thinking, you know what, I can't even get a girl or a guy to be interested in me, so trust me, sex isn't a temptation for me. So like, can I just skip church or skip reading the Bible or whatever for a few weeks? I mean, I know like this is a loaded topic. There are so many questions, right? And you're gonna look for those questions somewhere. And we want our ministry to be a safe place for you to ask those questions. So, as sometimes it can feel like God only cares about one thing, one act, or one mistake that maybe you've made, right? But as we get started, I want you to know that that is not an accurate picture, okay? The truth is, when it comes to God's plan for sex, there's more to the story. Just like a movie trailer leaves more to the story, there's more to the story than what you might think. So it's time to pause and discuss again. So I'm going to give you, take your time. Go ahead and hit pause now. Okay, great. So as we go on, I want you to know that it's amazing that we can find real answers for very real questions by looking at the wisdom of those who lived thousands of years ago and what's recorded in God's Word. You see, people back then were asking a lot of the same questions that you are asking today. And so we're going to look at a letter written by the Apostle Paul to this church in a city called Corinth. Now, because of where it was located, people were often passing through Corinth on their way to make money somewhere else. And Corinth was known for being a place to party and to get in trouble, right? This is like the Vegas of this time. And some of the people living in Corinth were also starting to follow Jesus, and they had questions about what it meant to follow Jesus. So Paul writes a letter that covers all sorts of topics, but he has a lot to say about the topic of sex. And the way he starts this portion of the letter that I want to think about is really interesting. So this is what he says. Check it out. He says, I have the right to do anything. Okay, that's where he starts? Kind of weird, right? He's actually quoting a common phrase from the Corinthian culture at this time. It was like the ancient equivalent of, hey, I do what I want, right? So Paul begins with that in mind, that he has the right to do anything. But look at what he says next. He says, I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do anything, but I will not be mastered by anything. Paul speaks right into this Corinthian culture and into our world today, and basically says, look, I know it's popular to do whatever you feel like doing, but just because you can do something doesn't mean you should. I know that there's so much to talk about this, and I want you to have some really good discussion. So I'm going to put some questions up here again, and I want you to hit the pause button right now and go ahead and answer those. Okay, welcome back. In this culture, which was in particular kind of a sexual culture, Paul reminds the Corinthians that just because you can do something doesn't mean it's the best thing for you to do. And the same thing is true about sex today, because sex in our culture has become normalized, right? It's brought down low, it's brought down from what it should be. And it's made to feel cheap or easy, or it's just a physical thing. And some of our lives would be so much easier and so much less complicated and so much less stressful if we stopped going along with the culture and maybe stop asking questions like, well, can I do this and not get into trouble? Can I do this without getting caught? I think sometimes we want to push the boundaries of what we can and can't do and try to get away with as much as we possibly can. But that's the wrong question we should be asking. What if instead of that we started asking, is this good for me? Is this the best thing for my life? In fact, learning to think about what's the best thing over what's the normal thing is a normal part of growing up and becoming mature. It's thinking about what's best versus what's easy or what's popular or what everybody else is doing. So again, this message has a ton of discussion points. So if you're in a small group, if you're with your family, I want you to pause here in a second and have some discussion. Or if you're by yourself, I just want you to really think through some of these things. You can go ahead and hit the pause button right now. Okay. So there's more to the story when it comes to sex. Whether you're sexually active, you're thinking about someone sexually, or, you're consuming sexual content on a screen, think about this. There's almost always another person involved. So you and I can't just think about ourselves when it comes to this topic. You ask, okay, is this what's best for me? But also we may be able to talk ourselves into doing something that maybe isn't best for someone else. If we really want to get this right, we have to go further. So instead of asking, okay, is this best for me? Maybe we should be asking, is this best for we? Is this best for me and the other person involved here? This way is not optional. This way of thinking is not optional for those of us who follow Jesus Christ. In fact, when asked what was the most important thing, Jesus gave this answer, and this is part of it. Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself. When the religious leaders of Jesus' day came to him and they said, hey, what is the most important commands? He said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. And then he said, the second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. So something might feel good or seem right for the moment, but if it's not good for you, good for your future, or good for the person that you're doing it with, it is wrong. If something is fine for you, but you don't know or can't know if it's harming another person, then it's totally across the line. You see, Jesus was so clear about what God is like, and how you treat other people and how other people treat you is a big deal to him. He doesn't hate sex. In fact, he created it. But he wants you to understand it, and he wants you to understand its person. And he wants us to never use it to harm someone else. He wants you to become the kind of person who loves him and looks out for other people's best interests because of him. And here's what's crazy. Your dating life and your relationships will be better because of that. How do I know? Because that's what everyone wants. We all want to be in the kind of relationship where each person looks out for the other person's best interests. We want mutual love and respect with someone that we can trust. And we want the kinds of friends and boyfriends and girlfriends who will look out for us even if we're not doing the best job of looking out for ourselves sometimes. But wanting to live like this and actually living it are two very different things. And I realize there are all kinds of feelings and desires that can factor into this. And some of you have acted on those desires and feelings in the past. And maybe some of you wish you could have made that choice for yourself, but someone else acted on their impulses and you were the victim of that. And if that's you, I just want to tell you that I am so sorry. And that was not your fault. But no matter your experience, I want you to know that no one's past actions, nor your past actions, have to determine your next actions. Here's why. As followers of Jesus, we can and we should become people of integrity and even sexual integrity. And what that means is it's someone who's trustworthy, honest, and looks out for others. They're a person of integrity is the kind of person whose beliefs and their words match up with their actions. And just like you can be a person of integrity at school, in your academics, in your friendships, you can and should have integrity in your sex life no matter your past experiences. And sexual integrity is about more than just saving sex until marriage or feeling guilty for not waiting. It's choosing to honor Jesus and others in how you think about, treat, and value the people that you date. And so I want you to pause here. I know I just gave you a lot. Some of it's really heavy. So I really want you to take some time to discuss this or think about this. Go ahead and pause right now. So how do you become a person of sexual integrity? Well, integrity is about the person that you want to be. You can always choose to live with sexual integrity starting now. Nothing you've done and nothing that's been done to you can take that away. Now, you may be thinking, hey, sexual integrity sounds nice, but can you just tell me where the line is? What's okay and what's not? Well, I don't know if that's the question you should be asking or the steps you should be taking, but here's a few steps that I think you can take. The first one is to talk to God about who you really want to be. Invite him into your life, your whole life, including, and I know this sounds weird, it's maybe even crazy, into your sex life. You may have never done that before, but I just want you to know that he cares. And it might seem awkward at first, but he loves you and wants to show you how to experience life the way that it's meant to be. I believe that when you talk, God listens to you. And when you listen, he'll lead you to what you should do and what's best. Even if you're new to this whole church thing, this whole faith thing, you're just checking this Jesus thing out, I encourage you to try it, because the reality is, honestly, like, what do you have to lose? If he really does lead you to what's best for your life, including your sex life, isn't that what you really want anyway? And the second one is to talk to someone about how you plan to become that person of integrity. Bring it up with a trusted adult, like your small group leader. Listen, and I get that that sounds weird, and I get that sounds awkward, but trust me, you won't freak them out, no matter what you say. They'll be proud of you for doing it. And if you feel like skipping this step because you have to hide some choices that you've made or you've been making, well, that's not integrity. Integrity is rarely something that you should feel the need to hide. So the more openly you talk about what you're feeling, what you're struggling with, and how you plan to become the person you really want to be, the more you'll stay focused on becoming a person of integrity in all areas of life. And now I get that this is complicated. I do. I honestly do. And it's not the kind of thing you want to talk about with just anybody. And that's why we have small groups. That's why we want you to be in a community of students like you who are being led by leaders who love Jesus to help you to grow closer to Jesus and to each other and to become people of integrity. And so if you're not a part of a small group, man, I would encourage and I would challenge you to be a part. It's so easy. All you have to do is text the word CHS Circle to 419-504-1777. And you do that, and we'll get you plugged in with a group of students who live by you, who are similar in age as you, and walking through some of the same stuff that you are. We want every one of you to have a group of people you can figure out life with, even when the conversation is personal and even when it's super awkward. And we want you to have a leader that you can trust and you can talk about anything with. And we have some incredible leaders. Your small group leader is that kind of person who wants to help you. And if you don't feel comfortable talking about it in front of your group, we totally get that. After your group, pull your leader aside or shoot him a text and just say, hey, I'd love to talk to you about this in person. They'll totally get it and they'll totally understand. So I want you to imagine for a second. Imagine if accepting this invitation led you to a life that's better than what you could imagine right now. Think about that. Would that be good? I think it would. If you choose this way of life, you might just find out that when it comes to God's plan for sex, there really is more to the story.